Hey, the QBuild team is back on. Was there a question for us?
Yeah, is it okay if we put the recording out on? No. That's actually one of them, Kuho. I'm like, we were just talking about putting the videos up on YouTube and getting permission from you and SourceDay to put these out there if we break them into different sections so that people can, hey, come take a look at the video of how we did the meeting today virtual.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We are perfectly fine with that.
Awesome. Any questions? Not just regarding how we're going to roll our videos out and share it with the world. Questions for QBuild or deep dive. Naoki, I see that you're on. I can go ahead and make you the presenter if you'd like.
Sure, yeah, I can probably just have a contact page shared for now.
Awesome. Can everybody see Naoki's screen?
Yep, it's visible.
Perfect. Making sure because it bounces between my third and fourth monitor. I'm like, where'd it go? Yeah, I like Andres's comment that sharing the videos internally with the people that are respective for the different areas. Engineers can see the QBuild, but not have to worry about the jobs full circle type thing, maybe.
Right. I mean, there's something to said for that. So.
Okay, any questions for Naoki? Okay, Naoki, I'm not going to be shy anymore. I opened it for other people to type and put their question in. It's my turn now. Okay, show me that Nest link.
So
I said that
Nestlink
Salvanini question. I'm like, what they're doing, we've got a handful of clients that are using Sigma Nest. We built an integration into Epicor for it where we pulled the stuff through, but if you guys have one for 10 to 400 or 500 moving forward, as people upgrade, I definitely see if you have a standard product that they can bolt into.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that would be a great topic that we can bring to them. Sigma Nest is one of the systems that we first did integration with. And I don't have a demo, unfortunately, that I can show you today. But what we can probably do is to share a video we have from almost a year ago when Epicor did their virtual conference type summit last year. We had a session on Nestlink, and we recorded a PowerPoint and a demo. So you guys might be able to find that on like Epic Web or something, but we can certainly get that video, and maybe Kaho and I can share that with you guys afterwards, so you can watch it.
Perfect.
Obviously, if you want to do like a private web session, just let us know as well, right? We can set up a Nestlink demo with individual clients as well. Sounds like almost everyone got all their questions out during our session in the morning.
Either that, or they're just shy and still don't want to ask. I don't know.
On the operational link to the materials, you had the drop down for the operation. Was that integrated also to the assembly level so that we're not seeing all the operations, only the ones for the assembly level, the materials within?
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, let me show that to you. When you open up the related operation field and that drop down opens up, it is only showing the method of manufacture for its parent. Right? So if
Okay,
the assembly has 5 operations and you go to the child, you only see those 5. And then if you go to a different BOM level under the subassembly or something, those materials you can only assign to the one of the operations assigned to its subassembly parent.
perfect.
So if I can assign some operations to this top level. So if I were to click any of these, those are the 6 operations that I see. And
That
if
are
I drill
within
down
that
into this
level.
subassembly, that's right, yeah. So if I come down to this subassembly and assign maybe a different operation template like this one, underneath that, you see those 3.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So Naoki, is there any other thing, I know from your presentation earlier, is there any other things or settings or that could be helpful for people maybe to see? Or did you maybe cover most of that in your other session?
Well, in terms of the settings, if you're talking about like the accounting settings, there's quite a few. I can just show it to folks for the recording purpose. So there's quite a bit going on here. But some of maybe the important stuff that I want to point out, actually some of the things that we kind of discussed when someone asked about the revision. So there's some settings here under the revision settings here. Allows you to approve new part revisions, unapprove previous revisions, or check in bill of material, right? So there you have the control. Some customers will have the BOM and rev that CADLink creates automatically approved, so it's ready to be used right away. Some people would have additional approval steps inside the engine workbench. Now, here's the ECO group settings. So you can also control that because CADLink, whenever it's doing on any kind of BOM creation updates, we go through checking out using the ECO group ID, going into the engine workbench, right? Just like how you would do it manually. We're not skipping any of that step. So here you can define in your CADLink whether you want to use a fixed ECO group ID that already exists in Epicor. So you can set it. You don't have to worry about it. This is an ECO group ID CADLink will always use versus you can also have a dynamic option, which basically allows the user at the time of saving using CADLink to enter in the ECO group ID. So that would be a setting that a lot of our customers will use if they have, say, ECO group ID that each engineer is supposed to use, right? So depending on who's using CADLink right at that moment, that person will use his or her own ECO group ID. The last option in the ECO group setting is the auto ECO group, which is a little bit different from the other two, where CADLink will generate a new ECO group ID every time you save. And the ECO group ID is going to be the date and timestamp, basically. So that's another option where we create a new ECO group ID for every save, so you can find it that way inside Epicor.
Now, the
So the
auto
other area,
ECO group,
yeah.
Naoki, would that also work with possibly a serial index or an ECN system? We have a handful of clients that are starting to move towards engineering control numbers and making sure, yeah, this is the number, you get to work on your CAD parts with this, track all your info, but they're also having the engineers track how much is in inventory, how much is open in jobs, how much is sitting in the quality hold. If you're going to change in a part, they want to know what's the financial impact before that revision gets approved and checked back in. Hey, did you check with all the other departments before you said, yeah, write off that $250,000 and put it in the garbage can?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question, and that's the ECM Manager piece, right?
Does
So
that tie in?
a lot of our customers, yeah. So maybe I can show you. Since we got some time right now, I'm going to show you a very brief demonstration. So let's say, here I have a revision A, right? I'm going to go ahead and save this bill of material into Epicor. Right? So I'm going to just go ahead and save this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through just a very quick scenario on initiating a change request. And once the change request is approved, then engineers create a new revisions, new change. We go through a change notice process to let the different departments know exactly what you said, right? The impact of this change. What do we need to do to our existing inventory? What's in our warehouse? What do we need to do to any open PO? What about open jobs, right? How much is
warranty
it cost us?
How many
right?
of this model have we shipped out and we now have to cover the fixes?
Right. So any of those type of data that's present in Epicor, ECM Manager is going to be able to pull that for anyone who's going through this approval process. So here I have the Rev A saved, right? So this little product, Rev A design, it's in my Epicor system. And now I'm going to open up an ECM Manager. Now, ECM Manager is a web client application, and you log in using a credential that's given to you. And this is separate credential from Epicor credential. So ECM Manager Administrator is able to give out as many credentials, as many user accounts you need in your company. And inside this screen, I can, under the Engineering Change Request tab, I can start a new ECR. Right. So starting a new ECR, this will be, someone possibly outside of engineering, right? Someone who is maybe on the shop floor in production. They have ideas about how to improve the design. It could be someone who is more customer facing, right? Customer have a feedback. So they could say, customer feedback, here's a reason for change. This is why I'm requesting a change, and here's a type of ECR. And basically what we have here is like a digital form, right? Instead of having a physical form that, back in the day, people fill out and go from desk to desk, reviewing, signing, getting sign off. Instead of doing that physical form, we have a digital form here that we can populate with a header information, with a basic number that we use to track the status. When was this ECR raised? Who raised this ECR? Why was it raised? The reason for change. And then I can also fill in these tabs for affected component part numbers, right? So here I can do a search. So basically what I'm doing is I'm searching into my Epicor system to just add this part number into my list of affected components. Right? So at this point in time, at the change request stage, oftentimes the person doesn't know exactly how the design change is going to take place, but the rough idea of which product part number, which SKU you're requesting a change to be made for. So you can basically do a search into Epicor, find the part number. You can also attach documents. Right? So any PDF or red line drawings, or any supplementary information you get, you can attach it. And all of these files that's attached in ECM Manager is now stored in our own ECM Manager file server. So we basically make a copy of this file so anyone can download and take a look at this file as it was when this ECR was created. And along the same line, you can do email attachment as well. So if I open up an Outlook, we've developed an add-in for Outlook that allows user to select an email, and from an add-in, I can attach it to ECR. And what that will do, once I attach that email, under the email correspondence tab, when I refresh this form after attaching it, I can now see the email with attachments already embedded, right? So I can actually see the conversation as well. And then there's notes, right? Notes from customer rep. So once the person initiating a change request fill out this ECR form, I can submit it to a special type of user we call doc control. Now, the document control user in our ECN process acts as kind of like a gatekeeper. So the ECR will first go to my document control user, who will receive it in their dashboard, and they get a notification from Ecm Manager to say, hey, you have a new ECR waiting for your document control approval. Seeing that notification, you log in, get to this dashboard, you see an ECR waiting for me, and I open it. And basically what I'm doing is I'm reviewing to make sure this ECR is filled out correctly, right? Making sure all the documents are attached, the part number is populated, and I can set up a workflow. So
And then you submit it
user,
for.
I can.
Yep, you can also do the submit for approval and send it back to them. Okay.
That's right. So I can use one of these pre-made templates of workflow that you want to use, right? You can use all these different templates that you create, or you can actually create a custom workflow for this specific ECR simply by dragging and dropping these users. For today, I'm going to use a very simple workflow, which is just myself. But here's another thing you can also do. You can assign tasks. So when I select the user, I can assign a task. Now, this task type, this drop-down list is something that our customer has the ability to control. So they get to come up with different type of tasks that they want to use. And this task will be part of the approval process, but also this will be part of the metrics that we'll see later on. So let me put that in. Go. So once I submit this for approval, again, right, it goes to the next person, shows up in their Ecm Manager dashboard. They get a notification. You log in, you open it. If I try to reject, I can give it a reason for rejection, which will add the notes, this rejection notes, and send it back to either the creator or the document control user, right? So this could be engineer reviewing this, right? Engineers getting this ECR and says, okay, well, you know what? We can't approve this change for this reasons, right? Or you will go ahead and say, you know what? This looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and approve this. But obviously, if you have any tasks that you haven't completed, Ecm Manager is not going to let you approve it, right? So that's a sign for me to come back in here, click on yourself, see the task that you have to complete. You go and complete that task. You have to mark it complete. And now I can approve this, right? So that joins that's ever been created in this Ecm Manager, which you can now filter and search by ECR number, who created it, the date range, the status, reason for change, the type. And you can also, if you want to look up ECR based on the part number, you can do that as well. Right, so that's the change request. Now, after the request is approved, all right, engineers will actually go and now make the change. So I'm going to open up this new rev. Right, engineers getting once the engineering manager, let's say, approved that change request, that person assigned one of the designers to work on this new product. And I made some enhancements, and now I need to update Epicor. So my My process to start ECN can start in the CAD and CADLink. So I'm going to run CADLink again. And the CADLink does the same thing. It gets your engineer's latest BOM and it compares to what's already in Epicor. The engineer's latest BOM is a Rev B, and what's in Epicor is Rev A. And CADLink's a standard comparison feature is basically finding all the change in the bill of material in this design, right? One of the component quantities going up. We used to have 4, now we have 5. This part got redesigned and got new rev. This assembly got redesigned, right? And the top level got redesigned and got new rev. Everything else that's not highlighted, there's been no change, right? So this is a very simple example of engineering change, right? Quantity changing on one component and parts and sub-assemblies and top level got revved up. Now I can start ECN. So this is the difference between only having CADLink and having Ecm Manager with CADLink, right? If you only have CADLink, all I can do is save this new BOM into Epicor, and it's up to me to do any kind of notification, right?
Yep.
But with Ecm Manager, I can kick off an ECM process. I'm going to start a brand new ECN. It brings me to a login page so that engineer would then type in engineer's credential. I'm initiating this change notice, right? And the form opens up. This is the change notice form. Very similar header, but the difference is here I can link that ECR that got approved earlier. By linking it, reason for change is populated, and then documents, it's already linked here in this ECN. The email is here. The notes is here, right? I can add engineer's notes. Now, another difference is this. Affected assemblies. Here, I have this part number, affected assembly part number already shown here, and I can view this bill of material with the highlighting, right? Same highlighting we saw in CADLink. I can see the operations. I can see the summary of the changes, and I can see ERP, Epicor information, where I see inventories, open POs, open jobs, where used, and even cost summary, right, based on the material and labor costs. And all of this information, Ecm Manager is pulling automatically here so that other people who's going to receive this, other departments who's going to get this ECN from engineering, they don't even need to open up Epicor and check these themselves. It's already shown here, and you can see the disposition. You can see scraps, cancel, rework, use as is, whatever the disposition that's been recommended. You can see it, and you can go through the same kind of approval process, right? Assigning approvers, assigning tasks, go through different departments, different people to get their sign off for them to complete the task. And along the way, everyone knows exactly how this is going to impact our business in terms of what's in Epicor, right? These inventory POs and jobs. So this is our answer to those engineering change control problems or enhancements that people look for. Because CADLink is a very simple tool. It's not designed to do workflows and things like that. So we developed this Ecm Manager that can integrate both with CADLink and the Epicor to kind of build in this workflow between engineer updating BOM using CADLink and Epicor. So before the data reaches Epicor, it goes through this Ecm Manager application and goes through this approval process. I know that was a very quick demonstration, and if this is something that interests you, let us know. I'll be happy to set up, a separate demo session to go into more details on this.
I don't remember if that was Isaac or Tom this morning that had that question about the costing, but your costing that I think that impacted them is displayed right here on your ECN process, because they were wondering, I think, what was the financial impact on a BOM and seeing it, but I don't remember. Does anyone remember if that was Tom or Isaac that had that question?
Yeah, that was Isaac.
I thought it was
here.
Isaac.
Yeah, and Yeah, I mean, this is good. This shows the affected parts. I was more like, so we have a new assembly, and a lot of times we want to get our cost in, but we haven't ever built it. And so we've got to load everything into Epicor and then run the method tracker to get the cost on or whatever, if there's costing for some of that. Anyhow, so I was just more or less wondering if you could just basically populate the cost for them, and so that you could just see it like right then. But it's not a big deal. I was curious.
But that would be part of the ECN system in conjunction with CADLink and your workflows for checking parts back in. We have a client in Oklahoma that does this, but I mean, the parts that they make are $250,000 components for Caterpillar. And Caterpillar changes their designs at the drop of a hat, and they have to go through and find out what's in inventory because Caterpillar's got to pay for what they're throwing away off the stockyard.
I have a question.
But prior to doing that, they were just writing off $750,000 a month.
So I'm curious if you have CADLink and Ecm Manager, you know how you start ECN first and then you did the change. Could you do the change and then dump it into Ecm Manager and begin a new thing? If you didn't need to go through all the approval processes, but you wanted to actually see the cost implications of this.
Yeah, you would just streamline the workflow so that you don't have to go through all the hoops. Like he did, just put a simple one. Please approve.
So you're talking about the change request process that I showed you today? Whether you can skip that process?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you could
start. Absolutely. Yeah, you can start at the ECN. If you have a new CAD, you run CADLink, start ECN, right? Even if you don't have any ECRs or anything to link, that's fine. You can also, if you need to, you can start ECN. By the way, it's kind of separate from maybe what you were asking, but you can also start ECN outside of CADLink as well, right here in the Ecm Manager. Now, this feature was added for people who need to run ECN on things that are not doesn't exist in CAD. So what I mean by that is if you have a change in your method of manufacture, right? There's no change in the CAD, but we're changing the method of manufacture. We want to run it through ECN. Or if you have a kit, you want to change what's in the kit, right? There's no model for that, but we want to be able to make changes and record that change we're making. Those are the type of scenarios which we've added this feature for, where you can actually start ECN in here without CADLink, and you're basically just searching for a part number here in Epicor, right? So you can pull any bill of material, any kit, and you can add this Epicor bill of material, the existing Epicor bill of material, into this ECN form. And once you add this bill of material to ECN, depending on what you're trying to do, I can make changes to it. So even without CADLink and CAD changes, I can actually manually edit things like, okay, this quantity is actually changing, right? This quantity I'm taking in and out. Right, so I can make these changes to the Epicor bill of material or the method of manufacture here, and I can run this through an ECN process as well. So there are a couple of different ways that you can start ECN. You don't have to have an ECR. If you have a CAD model, you can start ECN right from CAD and CADLink. Even if you don't have any CAD changes, you can actually initiate an ECN process right here in the Ecm Manager using Epicor bill of material. Now, one thing I guess I want to quickly show you which is a metrics page, because one of the big benefits of having this Ecm Manager and going away from paper forms with the filing cabinets, going away from the Word files and Excel files and emails, is that now all of these data is in the database and we can analyze it, right? So you can see easily how many ECRs are submitted to doc control, how many ECR is waiting for approval, right? how long does it typically take for us to approve ECN, ECO, or ECR? But you can see all of these kind of statistics, and the tasks that were assigned allows the administrator to see, I want to track a specific ECN, and it's been a while since that ECN went out. What is it doing? Like, who has it right now? Who's stolen this ECN? You can look up that ECN and see, oh, it looks like, the product management team, Peter, has already approved this, but now it's stuck up Brian. Let's go talk to Brian, right? Or if you want to look up a specific user, you can find how many things he's completed, how many things he's still stalling in terms of what's active in the Ecm Manager right now. And so this is another, like, a very strong advantage you can get with a system like Ecm Manager, which is very hard for you to do if you have a paper system, or like even if you have a digital form on like Excel that you fill out and email from person to person. It's hard for you to track where things are. Kind of have to ask around the office, and it's hard for you to get these metrics about how well are we doing when it comes to completing these ECRs or ECMs.
I got a question.
Naoki, go ahead.
So if you have 100 different ECNs in the system, right, and you got this one part number, you need to get down and revise, let's just say, is there a way to find them based on a part number, because you have no idea what ECN this is?
Yeah, if you have ECNs or ECRs you want to look up by part, you can do it right here. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of people who, if they've already implemented CADLink, I think Ecm Manager is a good piece for us to look at next, to add this kind of controls and notification and documentation process. If you don't have CADLink yet, if you still rely on people manually just typing data into Epicor, I would say CADLink is still probably the phase one, because it's much easier software to implement. It's a simple tool, no servers, no database for us to set up. We just need to work with the engineers to get it set up and hooked up to Epicor. Obviously, Ecm Manager will bring a lot more people in your company involved, which can become a much larger project. But the CADLink is very, very simple tool with a quick ROI. So typically, the pathway is that you get the CADLink up and running, you get the connection hooked up, and then you look at improvements in terms of adding these change controls.
I got another question on CADLink. So this might be a little confusing. In SolidWorks, we have our parts and weldments, and then we put those weldments into assemblies, those parts into assemblies. And in SolidWorks, that's the bill of material structure: part, weldment, assembly. When we go into Epicor, we add another layer in there for paint. So it's like paint, or it's like part, weldment, and then we add a paint part, because we actually make a job to paint it. So it becomes like the part number with an AA behind it, discrete different part number, and then it gets assembled. And so what I'm curious is, how do I add another layer? Is there a way to automate adding another, basically, assembly layer or a paint layer in there?
Right. So in your, let's say if this was a part with a weldment, these are individual SolidWorks weldment part, or like cut list item. But inside Epicor, you're saying that there's another level between this. So under this weldment, you have the painted parts, and that each painted parts has each of these as a child, and then underneath you have another material that you use to make this.
Yeah,
there's like a material, and you have a cut material, and you have a painted part, and then the actual weldment assembly.
Yeah, well, it actually be like there'd be like all 5 of those parts get welded up into 1.1.2, and then there'd be another layer in between the 1.1.2 and the 1.1. Yeah. So there'd be another level.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. That would be
Gotcha.
basically
Okay.
QB003AA is what our partner would be. And that bill of material would contain a QB003AA plus the operations of paint and wash. And the part QB003.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. So the reason you assign a part number to this Wellman assembly before it gets painted, is it because you also stock this unpainted Wellman assembly? So you need to be able to track it?
Correct. It can be
Okay.
stocked, or it could get painted different colors, and either color could be stocked.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the color variation, yeah, we've handled that with a few customers, but we've always handled it a little bit differently based on what the customer's goals are. So typically, if we were to handle that through CADLink only, it will require some kind of a custom logic. Or another option is to take a look at our MBOM application. The MBOM application that I mentioned, which allows you to basically, it's kind of like an Ecm Manager, but it's a separate software, but it's another step that sits between CADLink and Epicor, right? So instead of this bill of material out of SOLIDWORKS going as is into the Epicor, you can pass this bill of material into our separate database that we create called MBOM tool. And in that MBOM tool, you can actually manipulate. You can delete parts, add parts, move these parts, and drag these parts around into different assemblies to basically create a manufacturing-ready bill of material. So that could be another option where inside the MBOM, you create a new level, this painted assembly, and you insert it before you push it into the Epicor. So that's another option that we can explore. But I think that's something we should probably have a separate meeting and discussion on, because there might be, depending on how often, I guess, this type of painted Wellmans show up, what kind of color variations you guys have to deal with. We might be able to automate it without MBOM module, just have a simple logic in place to have CADLink maybe insert an additional level for you. But if it's something more complicated or something that's much easier handled by a user making a decision instead of trying to come up with an automated logic, then we might start look at CADLink plus MBOM application and see what kind of additional customization might be needed to meet that requirement. So I think we should have a discussion on that.
Okay.
All right. Good questions.
I guess I got another question. So we currently use SolidWorks and SolidWorks PDM Professional. So their database basically. I'm curious. So that already has a workflow on through it as far as creating approvals and stuff like that to some degree. Not on the ECN side. It's more just how the CAD side flows. And we can populate lots of different properties like this. We've actually done that so that when we kick it out of PDM in Excel, it already has the part class type assigned, so we can dump it in through DMT easier.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious how that integration is, or if you get CADLink, if it's like you don't even need PDM anymore.
Right. So for you, I would recommend going with a direct integration with your PDM Pro. So CADLink offer that PDM integration as well. All the features, the interface that you see, everything is the same, but the difference is that you run CADLink out of the PDM. So you no longer have to open up the CAD and open up the CAD file. You don't have to check out that file, right? It's already checked in. It already went through the workflow. The data card is populated. You can simply right-click on that file that's in your the PDM browser in the Vault, and the right-click option will have a CADLink launch add-in, and that's how you can start CADLink. And the file is already checked in. all the data we read is coming from the data card. So if your data card is populated with, part type and class and others, we can just read that and get to the same interface, do the same comparison, and you can use CADLink to say, create and update those bombs. So that's probably what I would recommend.
Right. So if let's say we bring in here, right, the descriptions don't match, and I want to use the Epicor description, not the CAD description in PDM, but this drawing is approved, right? So how does CADLink go in and backwards or write it back into the database and the drawing itself?
So with the PDM integration, we do have the ability to write back to the data card. So we have the ability to basically check out, change the data card, check it back in. So we could do that. However, if you have a workflow set up, right, like sounds like you guys do, and if that workflow state, the status of that file is like released or something, and that doesn't allow checking out, right? Obviously, then we need to discuss what's going to be the best way that you want CADLink to handle. We can either have CADLink simply not write back, right? Or if you want us to, and if you can then basically tell us what your workflow is, we can teach CADLink so that during the save, if we need to write something back to that data card, we can have CADLink use a workflow to move it out of that state into a different state that allows checkout and edit and make changes to it, and then use another workflow to bring it back to the state that was in. That's something we've done that before. So both options available. We can either have CADLink stop and says, hey, this is already in this state, therefore you can't write back. If you want to change this, you got to do it yourself in PDM. Or tell us the workflow and have CADLink automatically go through a workflow to make changes to it. But obviously, if you have released drawings and you use CADLink to write back to the file, the model data card, for that drawing that you already released to have, get the new description or new value show up, you need to actually open up the drawing and update it, and then create a new, like a PDF copy or something.
Right. And that's, I don't think, too big a deal, because our workflow automates that. It'll open and save a file and stuff when we approve it. But so I guess for you guys to kick off a workflow, it's already set up in SolidWorks, to initiate, say a minor change and then approve minor change, or initiate minor change, check out, update the data, check it back in, reapprove. Is that custom code to initiate workflow states or transitions?
That one will be customization that we'll need to do it for you guys. Not something that you will be able to kind of create a custom logic on your own, like with a logic builder that I mentioned in the presentation. But this one will be something that you need to work with us, and we will put this behavior.
Okay. Is there? Never mind. I was just thinking about obsoleting parts, so a lot of times we'll basically have a new design and it'll replace or supersede another part. And so we go set that up in the system and activate the old ones. Do you guys have anything along that line? That would tie. I'm not even sure what I'm asking. I don't know if this rings a bell. Just something like, oh yeah, that's easy, or like, oh, do that.
Yeah, that could be. If you had an Ecm Manager, that could be part of the disposition, right? If you are removing something from your BOM because you're actually obsoleting that entire part, in Ecm Manager, one of the deletion will be one of the change that we capture, and one of the disposition for the inventories or jobs or something like for that specific part or assembly might be to obsolete it, right? And that could trigger different tasks for people to do.
Okay.
Well, the meat and potato section of the CADLink ended up being really good.
Mm-hmm.
What were the other? Maybe if you could bring up that slide earlier, you showed the other different. You guys, you got the NestLink and CADLink and
Mm-hmm.
what were the other softwares?
Yeah. Slide.
Yep. What's the part surfer?
Yeah. Oh, so part surfer is even smaller application, I guess, because as you can see, the arrow points one direction. This is not a bi-directional thing. So Parsurfer is an application that we've developed that allows you to basically read Epicor and search and read Epicor data. Now, we've done both, like a desktop application and a browser application, but it's basically a custom, like a, in the case of web application, a custom page that we will design so that you can easily search for a part number in Epicor and automatically shows all the relevant information that you care about summarized in that page. Because oftentimes in ERP system, right, to get variety of information, you gotta kind of go to the part entry screen and the other screens and go open up the PO screens or whatever it might be, right? So the Parsurfer was designed initially as a custom solution because some of our customers who had, our other product like CADLink says, hey, you guys know a lot about Epicor. Can you guys, create a interface that I can easily search and find the information I need from Epicor quickly? So that's kind of where the Parsurfer came. So it's a read-only part search viewing application that's external to Epicor.
Do you have it with you that you could just launch it or not?
Pardon me?
Oh, I didn't know if you had it, if you could just launch it and just show it to us real quick what it looks like. And if not,
oh, yeah, Parsurfer. No, I don't think.
that's fine.
No, unfortunately, I don't have that. Yeah, not on this computer. Yeah, so MBOM is the other tool that we talked about, right? So this is kind of the path, right? The simple path that we have is this, right? CAD to CADLink to Epicor. But if you introduce Ecm Manager, now you can have this, deviated path where it goes through the ECM process and then coming back into Epicor. Or if you have an MBOM application, you can get the BOM out of CAD into CADLink. But instead of going into Epicor, push it to this database, manipulate it, make changes to it here, and then bring it into Epicor. So these three applications, depending on the combination, can tie in together.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I don't see any more questions on the chat. That one's been kind of quiet.
I'm just curious as far as pricing, how that goes, like, or who we need to talk to, or.
I can
So
answer
for the
that.
pricing, there you go.
Yeah, so in terms of pricing, it all comes from your Epicor account manager. So if you're from the Iowa region, I believe your CAM is either Aaron Ford or Matt Navis. If you're from somewhere else, then it'll be your region's account manager. So get in touch with them. Also, if you keep us copied, it'll make our conversation go smoother so that we're aware of which modules you want to get quoted. But you can talk to your CAM about that.
Okay.
So just to add on to that, our products like CADLink, Ecm Manager are on the Epicor price list. So that is why the quote will come from Epicor. But just to be clear, the implementation is done by us. So the professional service in terms of delivering the software, doing the software support, training, implementation, all of that is done by us. If you want to see a demo, that is also you can get in touch with us and we can show you that. But anything related to pricing, your CAM will be happy to help you.
Okay.
Naoki, on the infrastructure, this is a SQL database that you guys are storing your data in?
Yes. So for CADLink doesn't have any database or the server, but ECM Manager, MBOM, yes, we use a SQL server.
Okay. So tying into that with external BAQs from Epicor, you can pull some of this if you need back into Epicor, or with a BI solution, you can also integrate the two systems together. So if anybody was thinking, hey, how do I tie the system together? How do I get analytics back and forth? BI would definitely be something you can do with this, or build external BAQs into the CADLink system.
Yeah, that brings up a good question. Where does the CADLink software reside? Is that just individual instances on everyone's computer? You had said something about it being cloud ready, and so I was curious on that.
So the CADLink is the one application in this screen that will not have any server-side components. So CADLink is a pure client application that's installed on your CAD workstation or your PDM workstation. So it's a local application. It's launched from inside your CAD and PDM system using an add-in, and CADLink communicates with Epicor, whether on-prem or hosted, doesn't matter. Communicates through an API that Epicor has.
Yeah, because our situation is we're SaaS. You know, we're in the cloud with Epicor, and sometime in the next few years, hopefully, we'll be in the cloud with our PDM software with the SolidWorks PDM. Have that hosted as well. So that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, so CADLink already works with your hosted version of Epicor.
And does that just use an Epicor user while it's transferring data, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you didn't see it in the demo today because our Epicor is set up so I don't need to enter the Epicor credential, but normally when you run CADLink, the same Epicor, login screen will open up and the user will have to put in the credential.
Mm-hmm. Now, this would be a good maybe for Calvin and that too. So, like, my understanding is Epicor does have a module for ECM management built into it already. I'm curious what the advantage of using ECM Manager would be over that. At least I think it does.
Okay, I'm looking through who's on the list still, Isaac. You're going to have to look at each is going to have different features. CADLink is going to have some features that are probably a little more developed since they've been doing it for a while. The ECM Manager is something new to Epicor, so it may not be as fully developed, but it depends on what your needs are. You're going to have to look at the two as well. I have seen people turn around and build their own using the ECO system to auto-generate a number right in Epicor's base, and then with a few screens, add some custom fields to the ECO tables to track. Okay, I want to track financials. I want to track total orders out there, total inventory. And they'll put those fields out there or add the dashboard so they can view the info right in Epicor's ECO engineering workbench. So I've seen it go multiple ways. It depends on how far you want to track it. We did build an ECN system back in version 6.1 for Vantage and Vista. I would say probably take a look at somebody that's been doing it and standardizing it. It depends again, though, on the features that you're going to need. Any other questions for today? Awesome, Christine. I think we're doing real well here. We're ahead of the game.
I think we are too. I think we're doing good. I want to again say thank you to Kaho and Naoki. I can't even talk anymore. For doing your deep dive too. We appreciate you guys coming back late in the day to join us again. It's been a long, informative day for all of us. So I feel about as brain shot as I usually am when I go to Insight. So this is good. And obviously, thank you to you two, Calvin and Fred, for being on here the whole day and helping to facilitate the meeting.
I'm just really happy I only put one message in chat that was wrong window. So I'm not arguing.
You only copied. You copied the one time I was talking to somebody else and I didn't pay attention to your presentation when you asked about MRP and MPS. I'm like, what's he talking about? But I heard my name. So that was good.
Well, we've got an awful lot of notes here in the chat window. I'll find a way to get these up there as well.
Yep. Awesome.
Awesome. Naoki, I'll go ahead and pull presenter back. We'll go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to turn around and kill the recording of the session. So we'll go back to normal world.